we interrupt this regularly scheduled series to bring this important message. Mikey's not doing too well. He's really upset.
Man.
Why don't you tell him what happened to you? Well, first, okay, what'd you do with my cover? Okay, first thing, what we did is we just happened to go on JW.org last night, la 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 la, let's see what they've got. And they've got the new June Watchtower, and it's God's view of smoking. Now, I know you just see a bunch of smoke there, and it's in an ashtray, and there's like some weird things in the ashtray that look like butts, and
so
boy, do we have a lot to tell you.
So to put this in context, we actually captured a still photograph of a cigarette with real smoke. So let's take a look at that real quick.
Okay, here's a still photo of a cigarette in an ashtray. See how there's just one column of smoke going up. Okay, now my dad used to be a smoker when I was growing up, so I know what real smoke does, and it just has like this column. Okay, it doesn't branch out, like this cover does. It doesn't do this, especially in those weird little images.
You can see faces.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna just show you the depth of the demonism in the subliminal imaging in this photograph, and this is why we're kind of making this an interruption of 2.5 instead of number 3.
So anyway, when someone is smoking a real cigarette and it's sitting in an ashtray, it's a single column going up like this, and there may be a few little wisps out to the sides, but nothing like that.
Yeah, it doesn't intensify, and it doesn't get blurs of light splattered through it. It just kind of dissipates.
Yeah, it just kind of spreads out and dissipates.
Yeah, so I want to read a scripture, and then I'm going to tell a little bit of a story about this last night. I want to draw everybody's attention to 2 Corinthians chapter 6. We're going to be reading verses 15 through 18, and I'm going to actually read this from the Contemporary English Version. I checked, as all of you know, I have 21 translations in the house. And I did check them all. Some of them says God. Some of them says Lord. Of course, the New World Translation says Jehovah. But I actually checked that against the Kingdom Interlinear Greek translation. And the Kingdom Interlinear, the word-for-word Greek translation, fits more in line with what's written here in the Contemporary English Version. So that's why I'm going to read this. Because as you read it, there's actually two different gods, being quoted here. One of them is God the Father, and the other one is the Lord, Kyrios, God the Son. But let's start with verse 15. And Jehovah's Witnesses, you really, really need to be paying attention to this 2.5 part of the interruption of subliminal images. I'm telling you, this is...
Because this is directed to you.
This is as scary as hell.
Yeah.
And I'm not joking here, friends.
Should we do our disclaimer? Okay, there is going to be adult images and words.
Yes, and words.
And I know not all of you will see this or believe us. So we're not going to, try to argue with you over, negative comments. If you want to believe it or not, that is fine.
Here again, I'll explain what kind of happened with me and why it bothered me so much.
Yeah, but we do want to say that we have had several emails from current Jehovah's Witnesses, and we've had conversations with current Jehovah's Witnesses, and these subliminal images are working. They're seeing them, they're questioning, why is this in the literature? So we know it works, and we know several of the YouTubers and friends have done these subliminal images. And so, just all you have to do is just type that into YouTube. So.
All right. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, and we'll start at verse 15. There it reads, is Christ a friend of Satan? Can people who follow the Lord have anything in common with those who do not? Do idols belong in the temple of God? We are the temple of the living God. As God himself says, I will live with these people and walk among them. I will be their God, and they will be my people. The Lord also says, here again, In the Greek, it's Kyrios, which is Christ. The Lord also says, leave them and stay away. Don't touch anything that isn't clean. Then I will welcome you and be your Father. You will be my sons and my daughters. And surely as I am God, the all-powerful. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses will more readily recognize these scriptures when I say, and quit touching the unclean thing. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses, we're going to show you this new Watchtower, and it is absolutely, absolutely unclean. Follow along.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to post the original scan or the original picture that we got off of jw.org. And if you need to pause it and look at it, and then we're going to go through these things one by one. And we only picked the more obvious ones. There was so much going on in here.
So, but before we do that, let me get back to my story.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Forgot your story.
No, that's all. I mean, you have to realize, folks, Kim's and I's tensions this morning are very, very high. I won't say that we were arguing, but we definitely butted heads on this one because what she sees and what I see are two different things, but put together, it just screams demonism.
About the time we thought we were done, he's like,
oh my God.
Okay, I think we're done. It's like, oh my God, no. There's something else right there. So, well, like I said, it wasn't really arguing, just kind of, wait, we're not done.
It's like, quit yelling at me. I'm not yelling. I need you to see what I'm seeing. And it's like, we were actually seeing the same images, but we were viewing them from two different perspectives. So anyhow, let me get to my story. Last night, Kim pulled the cover of this Watchtower right off of jw.org. And it's like, oh my God, I can see this, I can see this, I can see this, I can see this, I can see this. Look at this. Boom, there it is. Boom, boom, boom.
The first thing that caught my eye was the big, thick column of smoke.
Yeah. But then I took a flat mirror, and then I started getting scared. It was that much into demonism. I went from side to side, up and down, diagonal. And it's like, oh my God, I could not believe it. But,
just from smoke.
Yeah, but last night, that was the last thing that I did before I went to bed. I went to bed, I slept.
Talk about implanting subliminal images.
Well, yeah. So I woke up about 4:30 and I was kind of tossing and turning. And you know how at that point, between being absolutely asleep and not quite being fully asleep, the place where fairies appear.
That's a quote from Hook.
From Hook, yeah. Hook. So anyhow, you know how when you at that point you get your eyes closed and you get like these little, lines of light that kind of like work through your eye, between your eye and eyelid, and you can close your eyes and you can kind of see images come together, and then all of a sudden they disappear real quick. Well, my eyes were doing that to me, and every image that was on this article began to appear. And I guess that's tapping into my subconscious on a very conscious type level. And it's like there's something about this picture that I need to re-examine, because I felt that that's what those images. I mean, I'm not making this up. And some of you can say, yeah, Mike's flipped his lid. Mike's gone off the deep end now. What's Mikey been smoking before he went to bed? So anyhow, when I woke up, I finally got out of bed, had my coffee, I looked at that picture again, and oh my God.
When I woke up, he says, we need to look at that front again. Because
it was obviously something I was missing. And when we get to that point in the images, remind me to let the friends know that this is what I needed to go back and refine, because it was in such a deep subconscious level.
It took a while.
It took a while for it to come out. And when you see it, you're going to know exactly what we're talking about. And we hope that you can see what I saw and what Kim sees. And we're going to highlight it. And it's just going to be
Yeah.
Boom.
We've got the original scan, so what we'll do is we'll highlight it. We're going to zoom in. We're going to try to get these, so that you can see them the best you can. If, it's too difficult here on the video, then just go to jw.org. It is the June 1st, 2010.
2014. Yeah, 2014 Watchtower. And again, you have to remember, and I don't know if we mentioned this in the first or second part. This is 2.5, and we're up to part 6 or 7 now.
We're getting a little confused.
But you have to remember that in order to be able to get the full extent of subliminal messaging, subliminal embedding, you have to relax your mind. So I guess we're ready to start, I guess.
Okay, so this is a picture of the original cover. And like I said, if you need to pause it and look at it, or you can go print it up. It's the brand new June 2014 Watchtower with the smoke on the front. Okay, so here's a picture of the original cover. If you need to pause it, go ahead. Now we're going to highlight it. To me, this is what jumped out at me. It's a woman's nude body. Okay, now back to the original. Can you see it? Okay, so this was the first image that jumped out at me. This is a nude woman in this column of smoke, and she's got her arm like this and her head kind of bent like that. So that's what was obvious and jumped out at me. Okay, so now we know Jehovah's Witnesses are going to look at that picture and say, okay, I don't see anything. To me, it's just smoke and a cigarette and an ashtray. I don't see anything. They're crazy.
See, and you also have to keep in mind, too, that with this picture that Watchtower's done, they actually had to take the cigarette smoke and make it appear to go from one end of the cover to the other end of the cover, so they can kind of like fill in blank spaces. So this is where a lot of the embedding takes places. And there's a lot more going on in this picture than Kim and I have actually pointed out, because if you look down on the bottom underneath the ashtray, there is a man in a white silhouette standing there, and it's a figure of a man. If you look directly underneath where the filter and the white paper connects, there is a figure of a man right there vomiting. See, those things we didn't point out, but I'm pointing them out now. But there again, you have to relax your mind in order to see them.
Okay.
So now we're going to show you the first subliminal image. Okay, here's the original. And watch the upper right corner. You're going to see the death mask.
Okay, it's amazing how that death mask just kind of glares down.
Shows up, and in fact, later on, we're going to show it again and how Watchtower, uses this repeatedly. So next, we're going to show something that you're not going to be so obvious, because there again, this is meant to go deep into the subconscious, and it's not as apparent as the smoke coming off the cigarette. It's off to the side, but as we color it in, you will see it. And if you can follow my hand, I'm doing a 6. 6.
Don't give it away.
Times 2 or 3, whatever. Kim will show you.
Okay, so here we have the original. We want to focus in right in front of the woman. Here's the first 6.
Here comes the second 6.
And now here comes the third one.
And there you have it. 666. I hope everybody can see it.
Here's the original again. I know it's difficult to see. That's why we really suggest going and printing this up from jw.org itself. Okay, you wanted me to remind you of what to tell them bothered you?
I know.
Your subliminal between dreaming and waking?
Yeah, where the fairies exist.
Did you see Tinkerbell?
I saw Tinkerbell. All that little
fairy dust.
Fairy dust. This is the part that I was referring to earlier, that there was still something about this cover that I actually had to sleep on, and it wasn't until I woke up this morning that I looked at the cover again, and 2 things jumped out right at me. The first thing was the 666, and the next thing is going to be the next portion. I'm not going to give it away because it's absolutely disturbing.
Yeah. Plus, we have to do a disclaimer. Don't let young children watch this because there is going to be a adult word.
Can I just interrupt you here?
Oh, sorry.
As we're going through this whole process, making this video, we've got the pictures in front of us, and with the next portion that's coming up, you will see what we're referring to. I actually saw the same letters subliminally implanted in the reflection off of the table that this ashtray is actually sitting on, and it's like, God, was it just never going to end?
Yeah. So like I said, we've got this cover and these pictures sitting in front of us, and as we're sitting here, you know,
they're just boom. It's
just more is just popping up for us.
But I think you wanted to show a picture from the Learn from the Great Teacher book.
What we want to do is we have a scan from the new kids book, Learn from the Great Teacher, and we mentioned in the first or second part how these artists will do a lit up area. They will highlight what they want your eyes to go to.
Yes.
And so this is from the Great Teacher, listening to the Great Teacher, I think it is, or
it's learning from the great
Learn from the great teacher.
You know, most Jehovah's Witnesses will recognize this as the book that they want the children to study from.
Can I just say? Oh. Finish what you're going to say
about that.
I was going
to say, and the image that we're going to show real quick is on page 94.
Yeah, but I also want to mention that this book, we have found some of the worst images in this book, and they are showing these to your children. You know, it's no wonder this new generation of kids growing up.
And we're actually going to use this picture again to highlight some other things in it that are extremely disturbing.
In another part. But first we want to highlight what they highlight for your eye to go to. Yes, notice the only highlighted part in the entire dress is right in front of her crotch. Okay, so here we have the picture of the original, and what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in to her bum and see how it's highlighted.
And here comes the U.
Okay. Wait for it.
Here comes the K. Can you see where we're going with this?
Yeah, I don't like
where comes the F.
Yeah. I don't like where this is going. All right.
And there's the C.
Yep. Now what we're going to do is go back to the highlighted.
Okay, that's why I was greatly disturbed this morning. I didn't see these last night before I went to bed, but when I woke up this morning, it's like there's something else, and the 666 and the FUCK was there. And if you really think about it, when you're looking at a smoke coming off a cigarette, why would it be on both sides of the original smoke column? Smoke doesn't do that. So there's a subliminal implantation right here with this sexually suggestive word in the 666.
Now the K is what jumped out at me first, because smoke does not go in the shape of a K. And like I said, if you don't see this, please, I know it's very difficult to see this on the computer, so go get the, download yourself.
Get yourself a decent magnifying glass.
Yeah. And we know the F is kind of faint, so take it in some good light with the magnifying glass, and
again, learn to look into the background. So I guess next would be the several sexes that we found, and
just when you think that was bad enough.
Yeah, just when you think.
Oy vey. As you can see, we found several embedded in this, but we quit after a while because it was just blending together.
Okay, I know this one doesn't jump right out at you, but if you look right at the end of the filter of the cigarette and go directly to your right, we have highlighted what is the penis. Okay, if this doesn't disturb you enough,
I'm pretty disturbed.
Yeah, now Mikey's going to do his mirror image trick. Now we have some mirror images for you to look at.
The first thing that jumped out at me at this was the pyramid. And then if you look above the double S's, you will see a circle that goes up and around. And right in the middle of this big circle is a subliminal pentagram.
Yes, and also if you look at the picture, there's a face of Baphomet that's outlined in there, and also, not so easily to see, but it is there, is the Masonic square and compass. And this is where the square and compass presents itself.
We blew it up right under the pyramid.
Okay, so now we're going to show a montage of faces that we've picked out. And there's one that's really disturbing that I really want to stop and show. But you have to remember what we're looking at, friends, is that these are subliminal implants. Your eye may not readily pick them up, but the subconscious does.
Yeah.
So now let's get on to the montage of faces. Okay, this last picture is the one I really kind of wanted to talk just a little bit about. So let's show that up again real quick. Okay, this is a mirror image of what is what appears at the end of the cigarette in the ashtray. If you focus your eyes on the cigarette and just kind of like follow the line of the cigarette, you'll see that it's absolutely out of place. And then at the same time, what cigarette butt has a blue eye in it? So things like that, learning how to distinguish a color difference in a picture like this becomes a subliminal implantation. So what end of a cigarette that's burning has a blue eye, but you put the two together and then you can see the entire face. So Watchtower has truly demonized this entire picture. Demonized it, sexualized it, and it's actually very, very frightening.
It's amazing how we did a video on just this one cover alone.
Yes. So I guess in retrospect, if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you can see this, Kim and I want you to see how Watchtower feels about you, because there's something that we didn't focus on, and we're going to show the picture right now, because embedded in the back of the girl is a symbol of love.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
They
put a nice heart right in the middle of her back. No, actually in
kind of contradictory, isn't it?
Actually, in the subliminal ad world, that means life.
Yeah. So Watchtower has employed every advertising tactic possible in this one picture. And there again, Kim and I just pointed out a few of the things. If you were to take the mirror and go from corner to corner, up and down, backwards, it's full of satanic faces. So I want to just refresh the memory of the Jehovah's Witness. Go back to that scripture in 2 Corinthians 6, where it says, quit touching the unclean thing. What does God have to do with this type of Satanism?
Do you think God's organization would have anything to do with these?
How could God possibly, how could he possibly put his blessing on an organization that's doing this to your mind? God can't do that. He absolutely cannot do that. Yeah. Sorry to disturb so many people. I guess we're going to go on to part number 3 now, correct? Because this is part 2.5.
Yeah, it's lunchtime, but I don't think I can eat.
Nope.
Nope. So
bye.